First things first, this past week we took a double hit. Terrible numbers, both on the medical and economic fronts. Here's money correspondent Jill Schlesinger.
Let's be honest, there wasn't a lot of good news this past week. Coronavirus has now killed more than 7,000 Americans. And the government came out with the stunning prediction that there could eventually be 100 to 240,000 deaths in the country. Meanwhile, the economic casualties are starting to add up. The March jobs report was a disaster. In the last full week of that month, more than 6.6 million Americans filed for unemployment benefits. That's on top of more than 3 million the week before. Keep in mind the previous high was in 1982, when just under 700,000 people filed.
What was your reaction to now having 2 weeks of initial claims coming in at nearly 10 million?
The numbers are just shocking.
Kenneth Rogoff is an economics professor at Harvard who has written about the last 8 centuries of economic crises.
We've been hit by what is almost an alien invasion. It's a natural catastrophe.
That catastrophe has now spread to retailers like Macy's, The Gap, and Victoria's Secret, who announced they're sidelining hundreds of thousands of workers.
I think people are going to look at these numbers. They're going to wake up and pour through the newspapers and realize that we're going to talk about this as the worst since the Depression. And they're going to imagine that soon we'll be lining up for bread. Can you really help take some of the anxiety out of that kind of conjuring of images for us?
Well, I'd make a couple points. First, we are much richer than we were in the Great Depression. We can afford to do things we couldn't afford to do. And I think the government's moving in that direction. I think the financial markets are still sort of believe it'll be back to normal by the end of the year, early next year. And if they're right, that's very different than the Great Depression, which lasted 10 years.
About those financial markets, the numbers from the first 3 months of the year are in, and it's not pretty. The Dow had its worst quarter since 1987, falling 23%. Crude oil saw its biggest quarterly price drop in history, down 66%. But maybe this is a sign of the times. The commodity with the biggest gain? Orange juice, up 23%. So keep drinking plenty of fluids, wash your hands, and let's keep each other safe.